Hey everybody, Jim Edwards here, and welcome back to the Sales Copywriting Content Marketing Hacks Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Edwards, and a part-time pickle, along with my trusty co-host and podcast producer, Mr. Stu Smith. Welcome, Stu.
Thank you, Jim.
So, Stu, what are we talking about today? It sounds kind of scary and sounds like commitment.
Well, it's a little bit of Leadership 101 for the entrepreneur, for the self-employed. And this is podcast number 80, by the way.
Podcast 80. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I got the idea from one of your Letting the Chickens Out with Jim episodes, which are great, by the way. If people aren't familiar with these little daily nuggets of wisdom coming from Jim.
Sometimes it's a foul stream of consciousness.
Ah, good one.
Get it?
Yep.
Get it?
I got
okay.
it. It's a good one. But anyway, great idea. Great way to build a habit too, which we can get into that a little bit later. But anyway, this one is about accountability and adaptability in today's world of self-employment.
Nice. What about responsibility?
Title. Well, they're similar, a little bit different. So let's kind of take it on the letting the chickens out with Jim. You have a responsibility to those animals to take care of them and make sure they're taken care of. That is a responsibility. However, you are not necessarily accountable to them producing eggs.
Or I'm not accountable for them producing eggs. The production of the eggs is dependent on nutrition, hydration, exercise, balanced diet, protecting them. Because if chickens get super scared, if something, if a predator or something comes around, they get super scared, they stop laying. They will not lay.
Yes.
That happened not too long ago we had some snakes. We had our snake infestation there for a while. It was a bad day to be a snake on the Edwards Ranch. I can tell you that. If I could have made boots out of those snakes, I would have done it. But we took care of what we had to do. But you're right. I mean, the responsibility is my wife chose for me to take care of these chickens.
Now you are accountable to your wife.
Every day, many times a day.
That's the difference between accountability and responsibility. So they're very similar, but just depends on really your rank.
In the pecking order?
The pecking order on how you're accountable. If you were selling these eggs, you would be accountable to who you were selling them to.
Let's get something straight right now. You inferred something that I'm going to take a little offense to. Stu Smith, I can do anything I want whenever I want, as long as I ask my wife first.
Yeah. Hey.
I can do whatever I want. I'm a big person now.
I call it teamwork.
I got to check. Yeah, there you go. Call it whatever you want. I got to check with my wife first. That's true accountability. That's good training. That's why I'm not divorced and I ain't going to get divorced, because I do check with my wife. I wonder if you could, totally off topic, but I wonder if you could trace the cause of divorce down to that one simple statement. I need to check with my wife first. And how many people that don't do that end up getting divorced? I have no way of knowing, but it's true. I mean, I would never make any big life decision. And this is an accountability thing. I hold myself accountable to her. She holds herself accountable to me. We've always had rules. Like when money was really tight, we had an agreement. Neither one of us spent more than $10 without consulting with the other person. Now we have a rule that pretty much, keep it under 10 grand and it might, make sure it's something I'm interested in. No, I'm just kidding. There ain't no 10 grand. It's like, anything over about 100, 150 bucks, we check with each other.
Yeah. Like you checked with her whenever you contacted me the first time. Right.
I did. I made sure with her, it was okay with her for me to hire this coach, because it was not, it wasn't exorbitant, but it also was not, it was noticeable. But I mean, I hold myself accountable to her. She holds herself accountable to me. I hold myself accountable to you, maybe even more than you know or expect or realize or anything. But I mean, when you send me a workout every single week, I hold myself accountable to do it. And sometimes when I tell you, oh, my workout wasn't that, or I didn't do my workout today because of this and that and the other, and you're like, what the hell are you telling me for? I mean, I know you don't think that, but it's kind of like, calm down, dude. It's not like life or death. It's not like you won't get into buds because you didn't do the pyramid. But I mean, I hold myself accountable to an ideal. I have kind of the ideal coach Stu when it comes to the workout stuff, where I think about, what would Stu think if I didn't do this, or if I was being a little whiny person.
Well, I mean, that is the beauty of hiring somebody to do what I do, is that you are, in essence, accountable to me every week when I say, hey, how'd you do? Tell me how'd you do? Let's talk about next week. Right. So that is something you can buy. You can buy being accountable to people. And usually it requires an investment.
But I'm gonna disagree. You can buy the potential for accountability, but accountability is totally an internal thing. Because I can tell you, I've had people spend $20,000 with me before to do coaching, and I never heard from them again. I mean, I'd send out the emails. We had the webinars, we had the training, 10, 20% of the people show up. The other 80% check in maybe once or twice. And you're like, what's going on? Oh, I just, I want to be held accountable. That's fine. I'm here. But being held accountable, it doesn't mean chasing you down. So true accountability comes from within.
Yeah.
So if you, and so you can create external mechanisms. Like I have a mastermind meeting at 11 o'clock where I have, people I've known for years that we hold each other accountable on when we say we're going to do stuff. But if you're not committed internally, like any level of external accountability is not going to work. I mean, look at prison. Look at people that cheat on their wives or their husbands. Look at people that cheat and do things they're not supposed to. Even though they know there are consequences, but the external consequences and the internal consequences and everything just don't match up. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you have to hold yourself accountable to take the actions that you need to take in order to get the results that you say you want to get
every day.
And every day.
Every day.
Every day. Even especially when you don't want to. And so like when we were talking in the beginning, I'm like, dude, it's so freaking hot outside. I didn't do my workout. And you're like, well, and I said, okay, then when we're done, then I'm going to go do something. But the funny thing is that the something I committed to doing was something I couldn't do when we first started doing it. Like the easy blow it off workout now, in 20 minutes was the thing. I'm like, dude, I could only get the 7 on the pyramid, man. This is killing me. So it's interesting about raising expectations and holding yourself accountable. But I think ultimately that phrase, hold yourself accountable.
Absolutely.
Nobody else can hold you accountable but you.
True. I agree with that. I will find that, because I have a group of people who train with me, for me, it is much easier to not blow that off. If I'm by myself, it's real easy to say, I don't need to go work out at 6. I can do it at 6:30. There's that timeline thing that I think is really important in accountability, is to have that starting line, or at least that deadline of, I got to have this done by this time, period.
I think, yes, yeah. I think having a deadline is crucial. Having social pressure is what you're talking about. You're not really accountable to those guys. You have social pressure of letting them down.
Sure.
But ultimately, the only one that can hold you accountable and make you take the action is you. There's ego involved, there's commitment, there's other stuff, but ultimately it's an internal thing. So if you think about it, when it is externalized, if you look at guys, I mean, I know when I was in college, I was in ROTC. And so some of the guys that I knew went on, I didn't finish, but those guys were in great shape until the day they got out of the military. And now they look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and you're like, dude, what happened? And it's because the accountability for doing the things on a physical level for working out were externalized. They weren't internalized. So, you know, there was enough of a threat externally that it overcame the internal you know, but as soon as that was gone, that was it. And, you know, it's interesting how holding yourself accountable is, like you say, it's a daily thing. It's an hourly thing. It's a minute by minute thing in everything, and morally, action wise, what you do, what you don't do, what you focus on, what you commit time and resources and everything to. Maybe I'm going too wide with the definition of accountability.
No,
I don't know.
No, I think you're spot on. I will add this, according to our title, how accountability and adaptability is, for the self-employed. We have to be responsible to learning, or I should say, keeping in touch with today's technological advances with business, especially whether that is a more advanced shipping service of your products, or it is being able to learn how to do a podcast, how to get those up on different media sources, platforms. All of those things will enhance your business in some way, and it's up to you if you really want to take that step and try it. It may not work for you. It may work great for you. I've done, over 200 podcasts now and 80 with Jim. And I mean, these things are great tools for getting content out there, and people appreciate the extra content that you're putting out there, on a regular basis. So being adaptable to being able to, grow with the changes, because I can't tell you how many technological changes have changed my life personally and professionally in the last 15, 20 years, 15, even 10 years, it's, changed so much. So stay on the front end of it, and you'll be known as one of the pioneers in that, in your business niche as well. So
I agree. And right along with that, I think goes consistency, because you gotta hold yourself accountable. You can be accountable to a system. I mean, that's pretty much what I do. I mean, I create systems that hold me accountable to do the actions that I need to take with my to-do list, my calendar, my commitment to the work period. The work period is typically from 5 in the morning until 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But I have, certain things that I do in the middle of the day. Like, part of that I'll work out, the other part, making sure I have lunch and stuff. But, adaptability, keeping an eye out for what's coming. I mean, Zoom 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Zoom didn't even exist. Well, it did, but nobody was using it. Now Zoom is poised to take out GoToWebinar. I mean, I hate messing around with GoToWebinar now. I'd find it cumbersome. It feels old.
Yeah.
I just wish Zoom didn't charge so damn much to do a webinar with like 1,000 people on it. But I'm probably gonna have to bite the bullet on that anyway, because I'm so used to doing it now. This feels natural to me, whereas GoToWebinar does not.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But then adapting. But here's the thing, we talked on our show on Facebook about, just different things with, learning and other stuff like that. But adaptability to me also means you have a core set of principles that you live by and that you understand, like sales copy. So the principles of sales copy never changed, but you have to learn how to adapt those to different mediums. So, we talked about using sales copy on paper flyers, on door hangers, and newspaper ads, magazine ads, phone scripts, all of these things. The exact same principles have been adapted to an online world. Now, a lot of times they work exactly the same. Other times they get used in different ways. But the big thing is you learn principles, and then you have adaptability when it comes to what you're up against, especially as an entrepreneur. Because again, Facebook came around in 2007, but it didn't really hit its stride until 2010. Facebook is not the end all and be all. They are facing some real serious issues right now. If they get broken up by the FTC, which depending on who they piss off in the next election cycle, that might happen. I mean, look at Twitter, look at all these things that the world, when we first started online, how many search engines were there in 1997? There were dozens. Yeah. Now there's one. There's one, and then Yahoo, Bing, whatever it is a far distant second. How many social media sites were there before it was social media? It was all blogs. Now
forums.
Forums and stuff. So now everybody's on Facebook. The point is that there's going to be another shift, and you're going to have to learn how to adapt. But you can't adapt unless you know principles, because otherwise you're just tossed on the sea like a wave, because you have no idea what to do. But once you have those guiding principles that you understand and know, sales copy, design, interacting with people, content creation, article writing, video creation, all these things, then you're going to be able to adapt to what comes next, because there will be a next. This cannot go on forever. The tech monopolies are going to get broken up in some kind of way. They're going to get smashed.
Yeah,
they have to. That's the way it goes.
And there's going to be opportunities when that occurs.
Right.
Too. Yeah.
So, and not putting all your eggs in one basket. I mean, look at TikTok. TikTok is, I mean, I don't really understand it. It's
Chinese app.
It's like Facebook and Twitter had a baby on crack. Facebook and Twitter had a crack baby.
It's just a bunch of videos that.
Right. But some people are figuring it out.
Yeah.
And there are some people that are making a bunch of money off of it. What happens when the U.S. government bans TikTok? Because if Trump gets reelected, they'll do it, because he's about as pro-China as no one. So that's something's coming.
Yeah.
So, you've got to learn, you've got to adapt. And there are always these cycles where there's the startup phase, where a lot of times the startup phase for entrepreneurs is where you make all the money, because that's where it's the rules of the Wild West, and you just figure out what you're going on. They'll take any kind of ad. They'll do anything. All right. And then they have this maturation phase, and then they kick all the entrepreneurs out, and then there's the decline, and then the breakup, and then there's something else coming and going. So
let me give you a great example, Jim, of accountability and adaptability.
Please do.
In a business.
Because I've gone too many different directions.
You remember DIY Media Marketing
Academy?
No, yeah. That's what we did. Remember?
Right.
We were accountable to each other. We created this ebook by sending it back and forth multiple times. I said, let's have this thing done by Christmas. Boom, we get it done. And then I was like, hey, let's turn this into an academy, right? And we took each chapter basically and created a monthly training cycle. People signed up for it. It was kind of fun. We were accountable to each other for creating that content. And I would remember, you would send me the go-to meeting. We would create the PowerPoint and, do a show on it. Right. And I was like, you know what? There's this podcast thing that I'd really like to try to figure out. And so I think month 5 of our training, I was like, I think I figured it out, Jim. And I sent you a Zoom link, and we started kicking it back and forth with Zoom. And we're like, this is going to be our podcast. And I said, it gives you the audio, gives you the video. Let's have a training on how to do a podcast. And we did. And we've been doing podcasts ever since.
Yes.
Yeah. That was 2.5 years ago.
Yeah. And there's been plenty other stuff that's come and gone, but that consistency and holding each other accountable and holding ourselves accountable and not wanting to let yourself down by not showing up and being ready and all that stuff. Yeah, I think that's critical. And I think those skills and those attitudes are more important now than they've ever been. And they're going to be more important than they've ever been moving forward, because we're all our own little company now. It's the way the world is going. Everybody's, not everybody, but more and more people are working from home. Well, if I'm working from home, why do I need to work for this company as opposed to just working for myself? It's like all the bonds of job are breaking, and people realize the only way I get paid is by creating value. And in the end, if you're an employee, that means you have a single customer. You have one customer, your employer.
Mm-hmm.
If you piss them off and they fire you, you can lose your house. You can lose everything. If they go out of business, if they make bad business decisions and go out of business through no fault of your own, you could lose your house. You could lose your car. You could lose everything because you have one customer.
Yeah.
And that's actually people think that a job is security. It's actually the ultimate insecurity. It's the ultimate risk to put all your hopes and dreams in the future of your family in the hands of a single person, a single entity, and hope that you don't piss them off. Hope that you don't do something that makes them upset. Hope that they don't change their business model and you become redundant. That is scary as crap.
Or they don't change their business model and you become obsolete.
Yes. Yeah.
I've seen that happen too. A lot of businesses don't adapt.
Yes.
And grow with the technology signs. Yeah. How many of you, in the group have had, your regular job? Maybe you still have your regular job, but you got your side gig going. I mean, I did that for years. Fitness was a hobby, right? Then I figured out how to make money on it, and it still wasn't enough money yet. And then, that it eventually evolved into where I was like, I'm doing pretty well with this fitness thing. I think I'll just do it full time now and not.
What did you do as a job?
People.
What were you doing as a job?
I was doing some security consulting.
Okay.
Yeah. It was good money, and it was kind of fun, after 9/11, doing some unique stuff with DHS and things like that. But like I said, it was.
But it probably had travel, and you don't like to travel.
Stu likes his own bed. I was traveling a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vicky says, look what happened in 2020. Yep, that's exactly what we're talking about. Leslie said, I left the legal field to train entry-level paralegals online. That's cool.
Nice.
Oliver says, I love the idea of you only have one customer if you're employed by a company. It's true. It's absolutely true. Cool. Gordon says, this is what Jim Edwards has given me, skills to handle any insecurities that may come up. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to give you the care icon on that one, Gordon. Just because that's my big joke. I don't like the care icon. David said, did you work with Jocko? I think Jocko was after your time. He's younger than you, isn't he?
Just a few years. No, I was out. I got out before 9/11.
Yeah.
So I did not know him before. He was a West Coast guy. I was East Coast.
So how do we wrap this up? How do we land this plane? How do we dock this boat, Stu?
Well,
how do we wrap this up?
I would say this, give yourself a timeline, give yourself a deadline, give yourself a to-do list, and stick to it.
Let yourself off the hook.
Yeah, and you're going to be accountable to all those little things that you have to do every day. And you may be surprised at all you do in a single day. Sometimes you have to write it down and just say, holy crap, I really do a lot of stuff. I didn't even realize it. But now you have it in a list. You can kind of see, then you can kind of see where there's space to grow. And then always just keep your eyes open on what's in front, because there's always something that's going to update your business in a way that keeps you relevant. Otherwise, like I said, if you don't make those changes, you can really make yourself obsolete, within a 3 to 5 year period.
Oh, quicker than that.
Yeah.
I think within 6 months.
Yeah.
When we're talking about online stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I real fast. Cool.
And another way to do it too is not create content. You can become obsolete real quick without the creation of new content. And that doesn't have to be a book or anything like that. It could just be, changes of blog posts or, social media posts, whatever that is, just regular occurrences. So you got to be accountable to staying relevant.
I agree. And a couple reasons and we'll end on that, but I think a couple reasons why what you just said there is like a hidden gem on 2 levels. One, by creating content, you stay on people's radar. That's what we think is the reason we create content. But the other reason is that by constantly creating content, it causes you to be mindful of what's going on, and it causes you to stay engaged in whatever your area of focus. Because if you're creating content, that means you're thinking about what's going on, you're paying attention to the changes, you're bringing them in, you're mixing them around, and you're making sure that you're staying up on stuff. So absolutely cool. Oliver says, we had some good comments and stuff. Leslie said something, I watched my hubby, father, and others lose their jobs after many years, and it was important to have an online business. I watched that with my dad. My dad worked for a company for a really long time. He took a shot to go to work for another company. That was like his big shot. That was his thing. And it didn't work out. He ended up getting laid off and really struggled for a long time. And that's, I think in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm not going to let that happen to me. I'm not going to put myself in a situation where a single person, and it's funny, it kind of did happen to me when I worked at that search engine promotion company, when the guy fired me, and I was like, I'm never going to go get another job. I'm never going to have somebody be able to know that they hold my family's groceries in their hand and be able to wield that type of power over me. Never again. Never, ever, ever. I would sell door to door if I had to, over having somebody be able to do that to me, like what he did, knowing that he did that. So cool. Well, I think everybody's digging it, and we enjoyed this. And so I would just encourage everybody, if you are not a member of the Sales Copywriting Content Marketing Hacks group on Facebook, you should be. We do this live in front of the group. People are able to interact and ask questions and have a good rollicking time with us. We enjoy rollicking with people online. It's safe because we're socially distant. I'm emotionally distant too, but that's a different therapy session. Anyway, so we appreciate you guys. If you're looking for a good summer read, I recommend Stu's 101 Best Pyramid Training Workouts, his latest book. If you're looking for something to help you get into amazing shape, you can make it to about page 10 before you want to puke in a bucket. But those are some good workouts in there. I think I got experimented on for a few of those.
Oh, absolutely.
Several of us did.
During the writing phase of that, I tested many of them out.
Yeah, I did notice that when I heard about the book.
We were doing crazy pyramids for a while. Tested.
Yeah, I like the one of run 800 meters and do this and then multiply it times 2 times 4. I mean, I got to infinity pull-ups one day. I guess maybe I was doing it wrong, but there you go. Do this for 24 hours straight, then let me know how it worked out. So, and if you need some help with copywriting, get yourself a copy of Copywriting Secrets. It'll help you write amazing copy no matter what you're selling or who you sell it to. I bet it would work with Martians. So everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.